Friday, and we're live here with our information question and answer session. Today, I want to do a little something different, and I wanted to share with you guys this documentary called Quiet Explosions. Of course, I'm sharing with you here the DVD. The film is available on DVD, and it's also available on Prime as well as on Netflix. And this is a documentary that I actually worked on. It's called Quiet Explosions, Healing the Brain. It has to do with traumatic brain injuries. And although we don't make any medical claims with regards to the stem cell activation patches, because we don't treat, we don't heal, we don't cure, we don't diagnose, nor do we offer any protocols, I do have an area of specialization in traumatic brain injuries, having suffered one myself, and also specializing with individuals who have neurological disorders. And I like to bring this to people's attention because of the education. This documentary is, you don't make a documentary to make money. A documentary is usually costs quite a bit of money. And our intention when we did this documentary was to bring awareness to people about traumatic brain injuries, and also to bring awareness to the fact that there's a lot of people running around with traumatic brain injuries who are completely unaware that they have that as an issue. And as irony would strike again, it's really fascinating. Jerry Sher is the Emmy Award-winning director and executive producer of this film, Quiet Explosions. And one of the big surprises that we had was that when we were doing the principal photography for this, when we did specifically the one dealing with Dr. Daniel Amen, because we did feature two doctors, and one was Dr. Mark Gordon from Los Angeles. The second one was Dr. Daniel Amen, who many of us have seen him for years, probably the last 25 years. We've seen him on PBS. And of course, I've seen him speak at different conventions and live events throughout the years. He is a brain expert, and he is famous for doing thousands of brain scans on people, and also he has a very effective protocol for helping people who have traumatic brain injuries. He was worked with a lot of NFL players, a lot of celebrities and things like that. But the most impressive thing is that, in centralized medicine, conventional wisdom is that once you have a traumatic brain injury, any kind of brain damage that you may have suffered, that it is permanent and irreversible, that you cannot fix or repair or restore your brain's health. And so Dr. Daniel Amen actually didn't set out to disprove it, but in effect, what he's done is we actually see brain scans, and we show those in the film, in the documentary, where we actually are sharing with you several case studies of several people. We had two different gentlemen who came back from Afghanistan, serving our country in the military. One of them was detonating bombs, and every time an explosion would go off, needless to say, his brain is rattling inside of his helmet and inside of his skull. And he had many, 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 we call them concussive events, which is basically many concussions. And when he came back, both of these men who were in the military, when they returned, they were disabled. They were unable to function in any way, shape, or form. And it was the degree of disability. I think you'll be very surprised when you do watch that film. You can check out the website to the film that will give you a little bit of information. There's some resources on there, quietexplosions.com. But I really want to encourage people to go watch that documentary. If you're already paying for your Netflix subscription and your Amazon Prime, it's not going to cost you anything, but you will find it well worth your time. And I would really encourage you to share it with others. I think that every single mother should be watching that film, because a lot of mothers are completely unaware of their children having suffered a traumatic brain injury. And, you can suffer a traumatic brain injury, and there's no shortage of ways that you can go through that. The most obvious is obviously somebody hits you in the head, you get a baseball to the head. If you're a football player, two football players clash into each other, if you're in a car accident. But there's some ways that you can get a traumatic brain injury that you're unaware of that we reveal in the film. Again, this film is to educate, not to inspire fear in you, but to inspire a level of empowerment, because now you know, okay, not only am I aware now that based on the symptoms that we reviewed in the film, because we do go over some of the symptoms, people start to go, hey, I've got that symptom, I've got that symptom, I've got that symptom, I've got that symptom. And as you watch the case studies of the people that we feature, we also featured a gymnast, a surfer who actually hit his head on the rocks, pretty horrible, a gymnast who, it's uncanny, but all of these people, you know, when they first went to the hospital, it was missed. None of them were diagnosed with a traumatic brain injury. Even with a gymnast who fell 30 feet from the roof and hit her head on the floor, how she didn't crack her head open is beyond me, suffered horrible headaches for a very long time. And it wasn't until, you know, she went to Dr. Daniel Amen that she was then properly diagnosed. A SPECT scan shows a traumatic brain injury. It also shows if you have PTSD from that particular injury or from any other injury, because people think that PTSD is just an emotional thing. Well, and it clearly affects your emotions, but we actually can see it on brain scans. Dr. Daniel Amen is very big on SPECT scans. And we also we didn't talk about the Wavi brain scan in that particular documentary, but that is another alternative to a SPECT scan, which I tend to favor the Wavi brain scan, because you don't have to drink some of the radioactive material that you have to drink, so that when they scan your brain, then it lights up so that you can actually see it. Kind of like mammograms. One of the reasons I don't like mammograms is because, again, you have to take radioactive material, so it'll show up in a scan. I'm like, no, there's a couple other different ways that you can do a mammogram without having to take in. There are some people who are actually allergic. It's poisonous to everybody, but some people actually have an allergic reaction to that solution that you have to drink. So I thought I'd start off with that today, and just talking about that, because it is a pervasive problem. And many people throughout the years that I've talked to, the film actually was, well, principal photography we did in 2018, but the actual release of the film was during the pandemic. We were supposed to release that in April of 2020, a month after the pandemic hit. So we couldn't do our premiere in Los Angeles because there were orders where you could not have gatherings of 50 or more, 10 or more, then it went down to 0. And so we did not know how long we were going to be under this type of circumstance. So we ended up in November of that year, we finally released it through Netflix and through Prime, and we didn't do a formal showing like we normally would have done. So all that to say, it's an educational piece so that you can inform yourselves. I have had countless people who have had a myriad of symptoms, and they were unaware that they had an undiagnosed traumatic brain injury. And they realized, like, oh my gosh, throughout this entire marriage, it's like one of the things I noticed, that there was a shift in myself, but I had this car accident, or I had this happen to me and whatnot. And now I realized this is why I changed, and I couldn't understand why. And the doctors never caught it, never put 2 and 2 together. And that is, unfortunately, that happens more often than not. And so that is simply, again, it's an educational piece to bring awareness for everyone, men and women alike. That being said, I'm going to get off the bandwagon of talking about quiet explosions. Again, I have no financial gain. I wasn't paid to do the documentary. Again, documentaries are not a money-making proposition. They cost you money, they cost you time, but it is a labor of love. Jerry Sher, a brilliant, in my opinion, a very brilliant director. She's also the executive producer. She's won many Emmys, and she has successfully had our team win over 12 film awards. And this particular documentary, we were also Oscar qualified with that particular documentary. So that was very exciting. Had I had our photobiomodulation patches, also known as stem cell activation patches, if those were in my possession and I had access to them and knew about them in 2018, we would have definitely included that it's definitely right up our alley, because that's one of the things that Jerry is very passionate about, is talking about alternative, holistic, organic methods of healing the body. There is a little surprise reveal. I don't want to spoil it, but there is someone that we could not have anticipated who was kind of going along for the ride, was not supposed to be part of principal photography, was not supposed to be a subject in the film, who became a subject in the film. And so when you watch that, that really hit home for all of us to see that someone in our inner circle was being, in real time, was being diagnosed with a traumatic brain injury. And the irony will be very relevant, very obvious when you watch the film. So that being said, we can go into the information question and answer session, and we can go over the stem cell activation patches. Let me move over, fix my clasp that I'm seeing is here at the bottom. And let's go ahead and get the information question and answer session. Okay. Cancel that. So we're going to talk about stem cell activation patches. Here we go, my notes. And we're going to share the screen. Here we go. All righty, so let's talk about stem cells. So I did allude a little bit earlier about our disclaimer, but just to do a once over, since we're actually showing you the screen with the patches themselves and the bullet points that go with each corresponding one. Our disclaimer is that the patches are not intended to treat, prevent, or cure any disease. We do not heal, cure, treat, or diagnose, nor do we offer any protocols. The suggestions do not replace the diagnosis and treatment by a qualified licensed healthcare professional. We strongly recommend you consult with your doctor concerning your specific health challenge and treatment needed. No medical claims are being made with the suggestions here. And with that being said, let's move on. So stem cells are pluripotent cells, and pluripotent means plural. Pluri means plural, as opposed to singular, and potent means potential. So a pluripotent cell is a cell that has the multiple potentialities of creating any kind of cell that's needed in your entire body. So as you're very aware and realize and recognize that when your mother's ovum came in contact with your father's sperm, at that point of conception, you now have complete information to the tune of 23,688 stem cells that are there to create you and form you. It has every single cell of those stem cells have all the programming, all the information to create you head to toe. And so the process begins of forming you into an embryo that at the 6 to 8 week mark, now we can evidence your heartbeat. We can actually see it. We can actually hear it. Very exciting time for a mother or father to hear that initial heartbeat. Depending if it's a boy or a girl, the heartbeat is lower or higher. And now you fast forward to 36 to 40 weeks of gestation. And now that embryo has grown into a fetus and an actual baby. And then you blink your eyes, and the next thing you know, you've got a newborn baby. Take a few trips around the sun, and let's fast forward now to 30 years of age. What happens at 30 years of age? Well, let me tell you, a lot goes on in those first 30 years. First thing to be aware of is that your body is truly your temporary housing unit. It is the house that houses the energy, the personality, the soul, the being that you are. And just as homes, when homes are built, we don't start with the roof, we don't start with the walls, we're going to start always with the foundation. We're going to do the same with our stem cell activation patches. We're going to talk today about the Fantastic Five. The Fantastic Five. Now, the Fantastic Five, that's because we have 12 stem cell activation patches, and The 5 are the ones that I've discovered cover the primary systems of the body. So with that being said, we want to start with the foundational patches. So we're going to start off with the mother stem cell activation patch. The thing to know about that is that 50% of your stem cells turn off by the time you're just 30 years old. And by the time you are 60 years old, 90% of your stem cells turn off. So by the time you're 60 years old, you have 10% of your original stem cells that are available to repair, restore, regenerate your body head to toe. And it has to do the work that used to be the work of 100%. Now those tired old stem cells are trying to keep up and try to do everything possible in order to replace any damaged cells that are in the body, but you only got 10% of them left. So I want you to just play, pretend, make believe that you're doing a house remodel. Whatever house that you live in right now, just imagine you decided, I'm gonna hire 10 construction workers. The contractor that I'm gonna hire, he's got 10 guys on his crew that are gonna come in and they're gonna remodel my floors, my kitchen, my bathroom, my bedroom, my lighting fixtures. They're gonna remodel my entire house. In contrast, compare that to another contractor that has 43 construction workers. And instead of the guy that's got 10 guys, a construction crew of 10, now instead you've got this contractor who says, well, you know what? I'm going to bring my crew of 43 guys and they're going to work on your house until it's done. Which one do you think is going to get done repairing that house first? The one with 10 guys or the one with 43? I don't know about you, but I don't think you have to be a mathematician or have taken calculus or trig or any advanced math to figure out that the 43 guys are probably going to finish the job a lot faster than just the 10 guys. As a mere function of just labor hours and horsepower, you've got all that manpower. Of course, the 43 guys are going to get the job done a lot quicker than the one that has just 10 guys. And the same thing is true with you, with your stem cells. When you only have 10% of your stem cells left, as opposed to having 43%. And you're probably wondering, well, how did she come up with that strange number 43? I'm so glad. You see, I'm a mind reader. Ooh, no, I'm not a mind reader. I'm just joking. I'm not a mind reader. But simple math, because when you're 60 years of age, when you only have 10% of your stem cells left, and our patches in our clinical studies, we were able to prove, and we were able to repeatedly show time and time again that 33% of your original stem cells that were used to conceive you in your mother's womb, 33% of those, boom, it's like a light switch. All of a sudden, 33% of the lights in that house are on. The house being your body, this temporary housing unit. Instead of having 10%, you got now 43%, because 10 plus 33 is 43. That's why we come up with that strange number that adds up to 7, 43. So let's talk about what are those stem cell activation patches, also known as photobiomodulation patches. Kind of a big word, photobiomodulation. We have a 6-year-old that started wearing the patches with his mom. And when he first started, he would say, photolalulation. And I said, very cute, Elijah. I go, no worries. I have grown-ups that can't say photobiomodulation. And in 4 months, he was saying photobiomodulation. He goes, I can say it. It's easy to say. So cute. But photobiomodulation is a mouthful of a word. And it's just basically saying photo is light, bio, biology, because we are biological beings. And modulation is movement. So this is light body movement is really what this is. Photobiomodulation patches, we also call these phototherapy patches. And these patches are sealed so that none of the substances in the acrylic sleeve of the patch actually penetrate the skin. So there is no medicine that is going into your body when you wear the patches. There is nothing that's being absorbed by the body through your skin. This is simply a mechanism. The patches are a mechanical, they're an FDA compliant class 1 medical device. And it is a mechanism by which your stem cells are actually turned on. So how do the stem cell activation patches work? A lot of curiosity about that. So they work because you are a light being. And I'm not talking about this woo-woo spiritual sense, even though the mystics have known this for 2, 3, 4,000 years. They've known this for a very long time. And of course, in due time, no pun intended, science has been able to show that we, in fact, are light beings. There's actually research that's been published since the 1800s to verify phototherapy and the actual effective use of phototherapy in the body. And there was an acknowledgement that the human body was made of light. And we now, since the turn of the century, we actually have thermography equipment that actually measures the energy in the body, and we can actually evidence it. We've got things like Kirlian photography that showed us that you can actually see the energy inside of the body. And now we have devices like the BioWell machine where we can actually put a person's hand in there and we can actually measure all the different organs of the body, the different organ systems of the body. We can measure the joules of energy of not just an organ, but also the organ system and see if the energy is too high or too low. Either extreme is not good. There's a range, a normal range that everybody should be in. And so this is actually a spectrography scan that actually shows the electricity. Electricity is just light. It's the light inside the body. You can see the energy inside of the body, the light inside the body, and you can actually also witness and see how there's electrical strands that actually emit out from your hands, tiny little filaments of electrons that aren't staying inside the body, but they actually travel outside. If you think about it, we have all felt that light energy. We weren't thinking it was light energy, of course, but you stand next to someone and you don't see them. Sometimes they might stand behind you and you could feel, even though you couldn't hear them walking up next to you, you could feel the heat of their body. You could feel the energetic presence. You walk into a room and you look all around and visually you think you're alone, but you have an inherent knowing that you're not alone because someone else is in that room or someone else is looking into that room. And that's the energy from the light within our bodies that we're picking up. Our brains are incredible devices that aid us and benefit us in so many ways. And we're discovering more and more ways every day. So if you want to look at a diamond crystal, the diamond crystals, we have this patch. In the middle of the patch, you see that little white circle. I've written down here 3949 glutathione, carnosine, and eon, just as a demonstration. And the crystals have a white crystal lattice. That crystal lattice are organic nanotechnology using traditional Chinese medicine acupuncture points using photobiomodulation. And that little crystal lattice is mimicking a diamond crystal, much like the diamond crystal that you're seeing here on the screen. That diamond crystal, if you were to hold a flashlight or any kind of lighting on that crystal, we all get to enjoy the reflection back to our eyes, where we see all the different colors of the rainbow reflect back the different prism colors to our eyes, right? And if you think about it, most people don't think about organic diamonds, like diamonds are actually organic in nature, because a diamond is simply a lump of coal, a lump of carbon that was put under extreme pressure and heat over time that refined it into what we now can enjoy as a diamond crystal. So the crystals that are in this patch are mimicking a diamond crystal, but we take organic sugar crystals, organic salt crystals, organic hydrogen, oxygen, and water crystals, as well as a proprietary blend of organic amino acids. And those are arranged in a very precise geometrical pattern, and then they are set to a very specific frequency to create the effect of the mother stem cell activation patch, which we call X39. So let's talk about, I'm going to briefly pause here and talk a little bit more about phototherapy. Here we say here, a third of your stem cells will be activated. Human hands glow according to a recent study that found all parts of the hand emit detectable levels of light. While phototherapy has been defined as the use of ultraviolet light for its healing effects, the LifeWave patches have been specifically developed to reflect light in the infrared and visible light bands back onto the skin where the patch has been placed. Supported by normal electrodermal skin conductance, the human body gives off a number of materials biochemically, including particulate release of gas emission, ultraviolet, infrared, near-infrared, and visible spectrum light. This then stimulates the area of the skin, producing improved physiological effects. Variations on phototherapy have been used for at least 100 years, and in that time, there's been little evidence of negative side effects. This suggests that this is a relatively untapped option for healing with relatively few risks. And this was actually an excerpt from one of the independent clinical studies that were done on these patches. So it's important to note that because we are primarily light beings and because we are primarily comprised of water, a baby being about 82% water, a 60-year-old being about 55% water, it's really important that we drink 50% our weight in fluid ounces of water. So what does that look like? If you're a 200-pound man, that means you're going to drink 100 ounces of water from the time you get up in the morning until you go to sleep at night. Very simple. If you're a 100-pound woman, you're going to drink 50 ounces of water. 150-pound person, you're going to drink 75 ounces of water. Whatever your weight is, take that number and divide it by 2. Divide it by 2, and that will give you the number of ounces of water that you should be drinking per day, no matter what you're doing, whether you're doing the patches or not, for general health and wellness. That's the formula. Okay, you're not sure if this is a big deal? Should I, shouldn't I? Should I, shouldn't I? Let's see. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to try and share this. We'll see if it's working okay on.
Here's a little clue for all of you.
This is not showing up on the screen, so I'm going to do stop screen share and then reshare this. Hopefully it'll show. So this is my mentor. I don't know why the screen share is showing. Here it is. Okay. So this is my mentor, Dr. Jack Kruse. He's a neurosurgeon, calls himself a quantum neurosurgeon, originally an oral surgeon, and then later became a neurosurgeon, basically conducting surgery on brains, necks, and backs. That's his specialization. So listen up to what he says.
The proteins in the Krebs cycle do not work the same when they're unhydrated versus dehydrated. Most people don't know that. So that means most of what we believe about biochemistry is absolute horseshit.
So I include that because he can be very technical with his language, because it's very upsetting to him that there are certain things in medical school that were not disclosed. And so he is very passionate about making sure that he sets the record straight so that doctors, holistic care practitioners, and whoever else will hear him will understand how important those truths are, because he likes to say that half-truths lead to complete lies. So we need to have the whole truth and nothing but the whole truth. Okay, let's get back to. So it's important to drink 50% your weight in fluid ounces of water, bar none. Why? Because as Jack said, when you're unhydrated or dehydrated, your proteins fold. When they fold, they don't work properly. So we want them to be properly hydrated so they're not folded, so that then your body and all of the different functions, there's a lot of chemistry going on in your body on a second by second, a millisecond to millisecond basis. So drinking water is a big deal, okay? Did you know your DNA is an energy amplifier? Did you know that your DNA is 92% water? What does that mean? If your DNA is 92% water, it's telling you that the primary structure that holds up your DNA is in fact water. That's kind of a big deal, and that's why it's so important for us to drink water. So let's talk about this mother stem cell activation patch. That's the first one in this. Again, it's kind of crude, kind of primitive, because I just took a Sharpie and wrote X39, X49, glutathione, carnosine, and neon. I do have people ask once in a while, it's like, well, why aren't there names on these? Well, the truth of the matter is that when you take them out of the sleeve, the backing has a little, the backing says X39, or if it's 49, X49. Each one does have a backing that has an identifier, but it wouldn't make any sense to put it on the crystals because ink is not good for your body. That's a toxin. So that's why these cannot have any marking on them to show that, an identifier to let you know that that's X39 or 49 or whatnot. Which is also why I recommend that when you put your patches on, that you always put them on in the same order. Start off with 39, then 49, glutathione, carnosine, eon, and then whatever else you're wearing. If you're wearing SP6 for neurological issues or digestive issues, or energy enhancer to enhance your energy, or any other patch, that you do it in the same order. That way you don't miss anything. Does that make sense? Okay. That being said, the moment this patch touches your skin, wherever you put it, you can put it on top of your head, you can put it on your neck bump, you can put it on your chest, you can put it on your wrist, you can put it anywhere where you have skin. We do have a Viridis Consilium where you apply the stem cell activation patches on specific acupuncture points to magnify the effects of the patches on the body. So the first thing that's going to happen when you apply this patch to your skin is that it's going to reset a third of your genes to a younger, healthier state by activating GHKCU copper peptide. And it's going to activate this P63 protein. Super exciting, super powerful. It's going to regenerate cells in the body. Wherever you have damaged cells, it's going to replace it and regenerate a new cell to take its place. Very cool. It's going to restore collagen. Collagen is our building block protein of the body. We need it for skin, we need it for bones, we need it for everything. So now you're going to have your collagen restored. It's going to rebuild scar tissue. Rebuilding scar tissue means that it's going to not only do the cellular repair by regenerating and replacing those cells, but it's also going to replace that damaged tissue with the original tissue so that your scar tissue now disappears, which is very wonderful and exciting. It's going to reduce fine lines and wrinkles. Now, your stem cells don't really care about vanity. They don't care about what you look like. They don't even look at you, to be honest with you. However, they do care about damaged cells. They do care about oxidative stress. They do care about inflammation. Your stem cells know that wherever you have inflammation, wherever you have oxidative stress, wherever you have damaged cells, it's their job to replace those cells. So it's going to immediately replace that. Fine lines and wrinkles are evidence of oxidative stress and damaged cells and tissue. And so there you have it. Your stem cells go. It's more work that we need to do. All of this is going to lead to increased energy, increased sexual libido, increased antioxidants, anti-aging, anti-inflammation. You'll experience pain relief anywhere from 50 to 100% within 3 to 4 minutes, as well as improved hair growth and deeper sounder, improved sleep. Next thing, we already mentioned before briefly that we have a Viridis Consilium, which is a true plan of action. That's all the word Viridis. Viridis in Latin means true. Consilium is plan of action, using traditional Chinese medicine acupuncture points to actually magnify the effect of the patches on the body. I'm sharing here with you Dr. Harmon, who had a right bundle branch blockage when he came to the patches just a couple years ago, very distraught over that terrible news that he had a right bundle branch blockage. He knew that there had to be something out there that existed that would help repair and restore his body. He just didn't know what. He had 3 cardiologists who, in fact, informed him that nothing to do, it was inoperable, and that all they could do is have him on heart meds for the rest of his life, and that his lifespan was going to be obviously compromised and shortened because of this. And he said, there's got to be a better way. There's got to be something out there And once he opened himself, he could have done the woe is me. He's like, I guess this is it. No, he's like still searching, praying, seeking, knocking on doors, hoping that there would be something that would help his condition resolve itself and repair itself. And then he found the patches. And the rest is really history, because here you can see this is what he looked like before he was on the patches. And you can clearly see at a glance, it doesn't have to be a lot of studying here where you could see that he went from gray hair to brown hair. He still has gray on the side, but his hair, original hair color came back. You can clearly see that the lines going in both directions where you can play tic-tac-toe on his forehead, those are gone. You can see that the inflammation that he had around his eyes, that's gone. You can see darker, thicker, longer eyebrows. You can see just a improvement in quality. You can tell that he has better collagen retention, just more youthful appearance. But the best part of this is, there's a part that we're not showing you here, which is his right bundle branch blockage. And we're not making any medical claims that this does anything specific to a right bundle branch blockage. But in his particular case, his right bundle branch blockage disappeared. The tissue was replaced with the original tissue, thereby eliminating the condition that he had with that right bundle branch blockage that was putting quite an imposition and a strain on his body. Thank goodness for that, wouldn't you agree? Now we have, on a side here, oh, by the way, fibroblasts begin to decline when you're 25 years old in their production of collagen. You think about that, 25 years old, that's a young person who's barely been in an adult body for 5 to 7 or 8 years, maybe. And already at 25 years old, you're already having a decline in the number of fibroblasts that are located in your body that affect the quality of collagen that you have in your system. It's incredible if you think about it. Well, here we have Scott and Patrick. Both of them experienced a great deal of hair restoration. You can see how, just compare the first before and after, and you can see his hairline is much farther down and he's got more hair. The same thing with Patrick. He went from very thin hair to much fuller hair. So I like to equate our stem cells. So our stem cells are to our body what your ink cartridge is to your printer. And to the degree that you have a fair amount of ink, if you have 100% ink, your color copy, your black and white copy is going to be indistinguishable, the original from the copy. However, if you only have 10% of your ink left and you go to make a copy, now that color copy is a faded version of the original, and the black and white copy is a gray and white copy at best. Sometimes it's a pink and white copy because it's so light. So we're going to go on to talking now about the X49. So we dealt with the mother stem cell activation patch. That's like the foundation of our home, right? We're going to go to X49, the daughter stem cell activation patch, and that's like the bearing wall to your home. This patch does something entirely different. So exciting. Totally different from the other patch. This patch is a stem cell activation patch that's going to provide radiation poisoning relief. And the first patch activated GHKCU copper peptide, the P63 protein. This one activates AHKCU copper peptide and a different protein. Provides you with radiation poisoning relief. It's going to increase your lean muscle mass, your increased bone density, muscle mass and strength, increased energy, increased focus and cardiovascular system function, protects you from 5G, Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, EMFs, and radiation poisoning, reduces your belly fat, and helps with osteoporosis. Pretty fascinating if you think about it. Make one little correction here that never noticed before. And stem cell activation patches, because these patches, in fact, are not stem cell patches. There are no stem cells in any, no stem cells, no medicine. These are, just going to put here as an emphasis, these are non-transdermal, non-invasive, organic, holistic, FDA compliant, class 1 medical devices under general wellness category. And the factories and distribution centers where these patches are created are actually FDA compliant. And we work very closely with the FDA to make sure that everything is in prime condition. So the next person I want to share with you is Kathy McCarthy, who's in Nevada. And this is a 4-month snapshot of about close to 30 days apart. You've got January, March, June, and July, and you can clearly see that Kathy had some significant wrinkling at age 63 when she took these pictures in January of 2022. 3 months later in March, she has a pretty significant decrease in fine lines and wrinkles. In June, almost completely gone. And July, in fact, there are no more wrinkles. There's no evidence. You can see that the increase in collagen, the increase in replaced tissue with original tissue, to the tune where she looks like she's not 64 years old, but she looks like she's maybe 35, 40 years old. So it's about a 20-year rollback, I would say, easily. I think most people would agree that she looks like she's 35 or 40 years old, right? The next person I'm going to share with you is Barry. He was the first person I patched who had suffered for 18 months with long haulers COVID. Since then, I have patched many, many people with long haulers, or some people call it COVID syndrome. For the most part, it's called long haulers. And we started him on June 23rd last year. You can see here his note to me the very following day after wearing the Fantastic 5, which is what we were discussing today with the X39 foundational patch and the X49. So he says here, this is Barry from Toronto. Hey, Lillian, just a note, don't know if it's a placebo or the stem cell activation patches work that quick or what, but I had a really good sleep, a little better sleep than other nights, fell asleep quicker. Today, I'm just on a high. I am ecstatic, and Gwen sees that in me. I feel really, really good physically when I awoke this morning. No headache, no nausea. Yeah, it's just been a phenomenal day. So thank you, and I'll update you as we go along. Hope all is well. Thanks. Bye. What a difference one day makes, and what a difference those 5 little patches on his body made. Pretty exciting. So the one thing to note is that you're going to be wearing these patches wherever you might be wearing them, whether it's your neck bump, below your belly button, or wherever else they're placed on your body. You're going to wear them 12 hours on, then you remove them after 12 hours, and now 12 hours off. You're going to match the time that you're signaling your body to turn on your stem cells with an equivalent amount of time that you're going to allow for rest, repair, and restore cycle. So when David is asked if the X39 activates old or grows new stem cells, this is what he answers. And David actually says both. So copper peptide is going to increase this expression of P63 protein, which activates the stem cells, and so that they can proliferate, mobilize, and get to whatever injury you have in the body. Next, copper peptide will convert the stem cells in your skin over to pluripotent stem cells. This increases the pool of natural stem cells in your body and supports the natural process of healing injury. All righty, so now we're going to go on. We talked about these two. We're going to go on to talk about the Y-age system. That's glutathione, carnosine, and Eon, the next 3 patches. I'm going to put these down over here. And let's talk about glutathione. Glutathione is the master antioxidant. It's the detoxifier for the body. Your brain signals your liver to produce and manufacture glutathione, and then your liver sends it through your bloodstream to the different parts of the body, every organ of the body, and all the muscles of the body. This boosts your immune system. It boosts, excuse me, I was going to sneeze, but I didn't. It boosts your glutathione levels 300% to as high as 600% in just 24 hours since you wore the patches, for 12 hours on, and then matched it with the 12 hours of rest, repair, and restore. It also increases your antivirals. So it's great to protect you against any germs, viruses, or bacteria. This patch also has an advantage where it creates a radio protector against DNA damage. So it protects your DNA, which is fantastic, right? So I cut this out of one of the research papers, specifically the nanoscale glutathione patches improves its organ function. That's the name of the actual paper. So let's see what it says here. The glutathione patches worn 12 hours daily over a period of 4 weeks produced a highly significant improvement in physiologic functional status of the pancreas, liver, gallbladder, intestines, left and right adrenals, hypothalamus and pituitary gland, and very significant improvement in the pancreas with a statistical power of at least 72%. So stated differently, all organs achieved significant cellular physiologic functional status improvement compared to a baseline with a statistical power of at least 91%. That's pretty impressive if you ask me. That's another independent clinical study that we have on the glutathione patch. So we're going to go on. That's this patch here, glutathione. Next, we're going to go to the carnosine patch. So the carnosine patch, this improves your cardiovascular system, all things related to heart and muscle, improves healthy brain function, memory, focus, and your brain processing time. That's the speed with which you can recall things, the amount of effort that you need to pull to think of a word, to think of a name, to recall something. This patch also increases your strength, your stamina, and endurance. And if you have any wounds in your body, it's going to repair those wounds. Very important patch. Great for anything related to your heart or the brain or muscles. Again, make sure you drink 50% your weight in ounces of water. The last of the Fantastic Five is the Eon patch. And that patch, we call it the Master Anti-Inflammatory Patch. We also call it the Happy Patch. It's the Happy Patch. It reduces people's stress. It raises something called anti-neoplastins. And it's a fantastic patch because it also increases the DHEA, fountain of youth hormone, while at the same time, it increases the brain balancing between the left and the right brain. Most people are out of balance before they get onto the patches. Then you get onto the patches and whoa, it starts to bring everything into nice balance for you. This has a calming effect that reduces the cortisol levels and the C-reactive proteins in the blood. Let me share what anti-neoplastins are, because most people are not aware of what anti-neoplastins are. And these are peptides that are found in the urine and the blood of healthy people. They might stimulate the immune system, and these peptides might also kill certain cancer cells, or at least prevent them from growing and proliferating. Used for various cancers, high cholesterol, brain swelling due to any kind of infection, doesn't matter if it's from AIDS, HIV, encephalitis, meningitis, Parkinson's, etc. So our body is programmed with actinoplastins to combat these conditions that it talks about here. So last but not least, are you aware? Oh, by the way, did you know that blue light? That's right. The blue light that you're getting from watching this screen right now destroys DHEA in your body. Blue light destroys DHEA. It causes inflammation in the body and insulin resistance. Think about that for a minute. Your light environment really has that much power over you? Yes, it does. All right. So if you want to get more information and you want to check out the 90 clinical studies that we have on our patches, you can go to startx39now.com. That would be this website here. You can also ask, get back to the person who referred you to this video and ask how you can get started on a 30-day money-back guarantee with a 90-day trial. All right. Does anybody have any questions that I can answer for you at this time? I'm going to unmute you guys. No questions?
No, you've done a very nice job, but I'm again very curious about what you introduced us to at the very beginning with those two doctors and the
Dr.
brain.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so you can check that out. You can watch it, like I said, on Netflix, on Amazon Prime. I believe there's a few other services. If you Google, you can find it also free there, or you can buy the DVD if you have a DVD player, you know, through Amazon. But it's really great information. I do have a list of TBI symptoms. Again, we're not making any medical claims, but I've had a fair number of people who are on the patches because some of them knew already that they had multiple traumatic brain injuries. Others were unaware. And once they watched that documentary, they're like, oh my goodness, I have so many of the symptoms. So again, we don't treat, cure, heal, diagnose, or offer any protocols, but this is something that I use in my private practice. So this is just, I'm going to scroll through this and let people kind of take a look at it. And I do have videos where I talk a little bit more about traumatic brain injuries on my YouTube channel. My YouTube channel is Love and Money Secrets TV. You can just enter that in YouTube or go to damelillianwalker.com. It takes you straight to my YouTube channel. But I do talk about traumatic brain injuries and multiple concussive events when people have had more than one concussion.
Lillian?
Yes.
What was the name of that documentary? I missed the very beginning of the Zoom.
Okay. Let me share with you. This is Quiet Explosions, Healing the Brain. You can
Quiet
go
Explosions.
Quiet Explosions, Healing the Brain. You can go to quietexplosions.com and see a little information. There's some good educational resources on the site. And then you can go to just Netflix, enter Quiet Explosions, or Amazon Prime, enter Quiet Explosions, and you'll see. On my YouTube channel, I have I've got some information and an interview with the executive producer and director of the film, where we kind of shared more information about traumatic brain injuries.
Yeah.
So
great, thank you.
Okay, you're quite welcome. Let me share my list here so that people watching here can kind of go through and you can check mark. You're like, okay, ADD. Do you have ADD? Do you have, attention deficit disorder? Do you have angry outbursts, anxiety, balance? Do you find yourself losing balance more often than not? Because when you don't have a traumatic brain injury, you don't usually lose your balance unless somebody pushes you over. But some people without any provocation for any good reason, they're off balance, but it's because of the TBI that they've had. Brain fog, stuck brain, where you're just, that stuck brain feeling is a terrible one. I know it very well because I had a traumatic brain injury after I was hit by a bus in 2017. I was just 3 blocks shy of finishing a 16-mile bike ride when I suffered that accident. Not a fun thing. Another one is brain processing speed is drastically slower. So you have loss of words, you lose your train of thought. You're like searching for like, what was I was about to say something. It's at the tip of my tongue. Or you're like, wow, I totally have no idea what I was about to say. Or it's again, your brain processing speed, your ability to recall things is impaired. Some people have confusion. Clumsiness is a big one. Once you've had a traumatic brain injury, you're very predisposed to having another one, unfortunately. Just because you're more clumsy, your gross motor skills, the speed, you have a little time distortion. I don't have time distortion on here, but that is another factor. It's harder to learn because you can't remember things. You sometimes can be disoriented, could be depressed. You may have drug or alcohol abuse. It's just a mechanism to self-soothe. I call this, people being their own amateur anesthesiologist, where you will reach for alcohol to calm down the anxiety so that you can sleep, or reach over for whatever drug that will calm you down. because it is, again, PTSD is hand in hand with a traumatic brain injury. Fatigue, terrible fatigue, incapacity to focus, hypersensitivity to light. Your senses oftentimes are very hypersensitive, where light that didn't used to bother you before, it could be just from a light from a window, like just the sunlight. Before it didn't bother you, now you have to, have shades and keep everything kind of dark. Or maybe certain noises, certain noise will bother you that did not used to bother you before. Impulse control is a big one, especially if you've had frontal lobe damage, because that's where your impulse control and your executive functioning is, the frontal lobe of the brain. Impulse control, a lot of people have loss of impulse. Insomnia, very difficult to get to sleep. Impulsiveness, loss of stamina and endurance, loss of taste or smell, poor judgment, risky behavior. Memory loss could be short-term, could be long-term. It's usually one or the other. Moodiness, nausea, panic attacks, PTSD, suicidal thoughts, tinnitus, vision impairment, double vision. So that's a list of the symptoms. So if you find yourself checking off a lot of these, it's suggestive that you may have suffered a traumatic brain injury, and you're going, well, I was never hit in the head by a baseball or by a bat. When you watch Quiet Explosions, there's no shortage of ways that you can suffer a traumatic brain injury, but we talk about that on there. Then here, I just talk a little bit about the different types of brain scans that you can do. Dr. Amen likes to do SPECT scans. I like to recommend WAVI brain scans if you really are insisting on wanting to have a formal diagnosis. Although if you have a lot of these symptoms, there's no need, unless you really want the snapshot showing the before so that you can compare the after. So that is, let me finish. Were you guys able to see the list? Yeah, you were able to see the list.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So yeah, I don't know if you have any other questions, but
Yeah.
I want to make sure I can answer anything that you might have regarding anything that we've discussed tonight.
There you are.
Lillian,
Yes, Dan?
Carolyn's off screen and she's asking why sometimes it takes longer for things to respond and shift and change.
So everybody's body is different. So no two bodies are the same. Even when we have twins, we can do blood work on twins and the blood work isn't identical. Even when they're living under the same household, they still have different experiences.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry about that. They have different experiences and different rate, their metabolism is a little bit different. So I want you to just play pretend, make believe, if you were to visualize the inside of your body, and if you were to just make believe that inside your body, you had all these little vials, they're little test tubes. And as you imagine that inside your body, you would see that every single test tube is filled with fluid of different colors. And some test tubes are filled to the top. Some of them only have little tiny amounts, but you're going to have thousands of test tubes, all varying. And every time you inhale, or every time you exhale, the amounts are going to shift. Every time you drink water, the amounts are going to shift. Every time you breathe in an aerosol, maybe somebody sprayed air freshener in your home, and as you breathe that in, those chemicals are going to adjust. Anytime you eat something, anytime you put something on your skin, every time you take a shower and a bath, any contact that your skin has, again, all those factors are going to make a difference in your chemistry. If you're running versus whether you're sitting, or if you're standing and walking, all those little levels are going to change accordingly. And your pulse, your heart rate, your blood pressure are all going to be adjusting all along, changing your chemistry, not just inside the body, but your neurochemistry too. Also, the chemistry inside your brain is constantly shifting, and changing. And so with that being said, your body has to, your body's always going to filter out whatever it is that you're taking in from your environment, whether you're eating it, absorbing it, or inhaling it, right? So that makes up for the variance in chemistry. So to the degree that you have your body in good shape and it's healthy and it doesn't have any impositions on it, you're going to have a faster response rate to cellular repair. To the degree that you have something wrong in your body, or you have a series of things that are wrong in your body, it's going to take a little longer. So that's why the rate of reparation and regeneration is going to vary from person to person. Does that make sense?
It totally does. Carolyn is just looking forward to the time when she feels as good as everybody tells her she looks.
I love that. I love that. Me too. I'm looking forward to that as well. Any other questions?
Not for the moment. Thank you once again.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful.
It's wonderful. Yeah. Very, I like that about the TBI. My son had a TBI from melanoma brain tumor. So he's gone through stuff like that and had a stroke on all of top of that.
Yeah.
We'll
So,
see.
yeah. So yeah, those are hard things to endure. I'm sorry that he had that melanoma and that traumatic brain injury that ensued from that experience.
Brain, yeah.
Yeah. And like I've mentioned in previous broadcasts, every time you undergo one of the questions that I have on the questionnaire when we fill out, our Dr. Wholesale pack is I ask how many times have you undergone general anesthetics? Because every time you undergo general anesthetics, that's something that we revealed on Quiet Explosions. You suffer a traumatic brain injury because your anesthesiologist does 4 things to you every time they put you under. And one is they wipe out your memory. They give you amnesia. Number 2, hypnosis. Number 3, analgesics. They give you analgesia to turn off your pain receptors. And then number 4, they paralyze you so that you don't flinch or move during the surgery, so that you don't affect whatever the surgeon is doing on your body. And they do that to increase the outcome. You're going to have a better chance of recovering if they do those 4 things as opposed to if they don't. If you're remembering the surgery, the body keeps score and your subconscious mind is keeping record of that. And your body is keeping record of the energy of being cut, which is not, our body, our nature is to protect ourselves from being cut into. And so it's traumatic to be cut into. In order for you to not have what we call an abreaction, they have to do those 4 things so that you have no memory of the experience and then you could recuperate quickly. So I've had people who've had 14 surgeries. That means that without having had any accidents or anything else that may have caused a traumatic brain injury, they've had 14 TBIs just from the 14 general anesthetics that they underwent. So the good news is that you can unring the bell and you can undo the damage that have come from just the general anesthetics themselves. So it's an exciting time to know that we can unring the bell and we get a do-over. All right. Yeah, it is pretty wonderful. All right. So
Thank you.
have a great evening. Thank you for showing up tonight. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, we'll see you tomorrow here at 2 p.m. We'll have more great, exciting information. Do check out my YouTube channel, Love and Money Secrets TV, and we will be putting this here on the YouTube channel just shortly for anyone to watch. If you want to share this with your friends, you can point them to DameLillianWalker.com or have them go to Love and Money Secrets TV. You'll see it's the most recent video. I will also post the video in the Telegram group, Dame Stem Cell Activation Group, as well as the Evolve team. All righty.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lillian.
You're quite welcome.
Very.
Anyone else
Thank you.
watching this, if you want more information, get back to the person that referred you to this video so that you can learn how to get started on the patches, but you can also have any and all of your questions answered. All right. Ciao for now, my friends and gems. Bye-bye.
Yeah.